Hey guys, welcome to the day. Happy day. I hope you're doing well. I'm Deborah. This is Purusha Intuitive, and this is our Wellness Wednesday. So, change of scenery, right? I'm obviously outside. It is a beautiful winter / soon to be spring day here, and I was really just thinking about, wellness and kind of what we've been talking about in terms of like how we take care of our body, our mind, our soul. And getting outside, in my opinion, is one of the most refreshing and revitalizing things that we can do. Not only are we breathing in just clean, crisp, fresh air, even if we are in the city, like there's just such a different vibe. I was thinking about that, being outside in the sunshine versus like cooped up in the house watching Netflix or something, right? It's just a completely different vibe. And there's something about coming outside that really helps re-enliven. Obviously we are natural, biological human beings. So I think the connection with nature is incredibly grounding. It's good for our mind, our spirits, the vitamin D. I'm sure you guys have all heard from the sun. The only way we can get that in our body is by being outdoors. And it's like, even in these like kind of cooler, crisp months, it's just so important to kind of, spend extra time, intention, even if it is for like a 30-minute, like just little hike through the woods or something like that to get our energy up, our spirits up. It helps us reground ourselves like we talked about, because consciousness is or wellness, I should say, is so connected to our consciousness. Consciousness meaning like our ability to enjoy life, right? Like we're all conscious beings. The desire, the idea is to be happy and well. And doing things like taking care of our body, our mind, our soul are incredibly pivotal for our wellness, for our happiness and our well-being. So we've talked a lot about how you really don't have to stress the body out. And if anything, that can be really counterintuitive. So one of my favorite forms of exercise is definitely hiking, being outside in the beautiful outdoors. Like I said, breathing in the fresh air, right? It might not seem incredibly intensive, like it's not like I'm lifting a bunch of weights or anything like that while I'm hiking. But it gets the body moving. It lubricates the joints. We're still getting the same effect, just with less stress on the body. I brought a deck too. Can you? Of course, right? Did I lose my... and then look. Hold on. And these guys hanging out by the water. Beautiful swans. It's just gorgeous, right? And how can you not just love that? That's why I love being outside. It just adds such a different vibrancy to our day-to-day life. It also just switches the tone, right? Like, it's so crazy. I mean, I'm not that old, but I definitely grew up in an era where technology wasn't as prevalent. And nowadays, we spend so much time on our phones, behind the computer, sitting down, indoors. The value that comes just from, again, getting outside, not to be overly redundant. But that's kind of what we've been talking about, right? Is like, we don't have to stress the body out in order to look a certain way. If anything, it ends up being really counterintuitive. We actually end up hurting ourselves way more because Stress degenerates the cells, brings in disease, the inability for our bodily systems to work and function harmoniously. And that is, again, like, that's what ages us. It makes us not look as good. It takes away our youthfulness, our vitality. And so think about that, right? Like, think about going to the gym. And not that I have anything against the gym, personally. Like, I really enjoy it, especially in the winter months. I'd rather be inside. I'm allergic to the cold, I like to say. But I guess I'm just talking about, like, the extremes, you know, of going and making it super hard on your body to achieve, I don't know, like being super skinny, super fit, super strong and muscular, you know. And I really believe that those things are positive in certain ways. It's just when we overdo it for this idea of vanity. Ooh, I'm almost slipped. It's like super mucky out today. But this is kind of like the fun part, I think. You know, it's almost like a little adventure. You know, exploring. I'll show you guys. Isn't it so beautiful? This is one of my favorite places to hike. So many different trails. So peaceful and serene. Like I said, like a really amazing way to connect with nature, with ourselves. But all this stuff takes time, right? I mean, the thing is when I was actually just talking about this with a friend today, when you take time to slow down, it's a little like you almost have to unlearn the anxiety that comes with instant gratification, right? Or the to-do list, getting things done. What I've found is when I'm authentically living in my routine on a daily basis and not in a hurried way to get everything done or accomplish everything, I actually end up maximizing my time, which is pretty awesome. It's just when I don't adhere to it, I find that, you know, and usually when I'm not adhering to it, I'm letting distractions get in the way. Like staying up too late, watching stuff on YouTube, you know, the endless scroll, what do they call it? Just like, you know, stuff that doesn't really benefit me. I was thinking about this phrase that Maharishi uses, Maharishi Mahesh. He says, you can only light a light with light. I believe I've said that in previous videos. But basically that value that, like, you know, if we want to get better around something, if we want to heal, we want health and wellness, the only way and the best way to do that is through focusing on the positive things that will allow that to happen. Right? Not all the... Let's take a seat. Not all the instant fixes. Because as we talked about, right, those quickly disappear. As soon as we stop the routine, the regime, then we find ourselves exactly where we were before. So obviously hiking is not for everyone. I like the value of getting outside personally. But Ayurveda really has this thought around how much activity we really should be doing for the body. We're already a very mobile society, you know. I mean, depending, right? I mean, I think there's a lot more comforts nowadays, staying in, watching shows, platforms, endless technology for sure. It's a little bit different. But, you know, I would also say it's pretty busy, it's high pace, it's active. And so what I love about Ayurveda is, again, it goes back to that philosophy of honoring the body and not overdoing. When I work with clients around their exercise routine, it's about looking at things they like, they naturally gravitate towards. So I like to hike, I love being outdoors, I love yoga. So that's what I would encourage for someone similar to myself or who likes those things. Some people like biking, kayaking, gymnastics. No, I mean, I don't think there's adult gymnastics, or maybe there is, I don't know. I was thinking of like bar class, or I don't know. I'm not like that hip on that stuff. But, you know, like everyone has their own interests. Weightlifting. I don't even think those things are bad, you know. I don't want to communicate that. I don't want it to be heard that way. I just think there's also this value. Like I said, I keep reiterating, it's not overdoing it. You know, we need some resistance, some tension to grow. But we also need to understand who we are, who our body is, what it wants, and what it needs. As I talked about, Ayurveda is very individualized. It's very specific to the individual. So, you're going to be looking at the things that you naturally gravitate towards. You naturally like to take walks or, you know, go on a run or use the elliptical or, you know, whatever it is for you. Then it's like try to plug that into every day. 2 20-minute, 30-minute sessions is incredibly doable, you know. Not everyone has an hour at a time. That's why I love the Peloton app. They have a lot of different, you know, like weightlifting, stretching, yoga, I'm sure other things. I don't have the devices like the the bike or the treadmill or anything. But the app is pretty awesome. And there's a lot of different, you know, apps available to that. Even I think YouTube has free content about working out, etc. So we find the thing that fits. If you are more of a sturdy constitution, you have like a little bit more, you know, like a wider frame, a larger frame, then yeah, you might need a little more intensity in your workout. The HIIT classes, the interval training, intermittent fasting, things like that, because your body has more earth, more endurance. It can take that, and it needs it actually, because earth is slow. It takes time to process. It's a lot more stagnant. Where if your fire energy, competitive sports are really great, because it helps kind of, you know, diffuse or level out that fire. Competition is embedded in fire energy. It's also those short bursts that Pitta is really good at. But if you're more of a Vata type, a lighter frame, thinner, like I think I've talked about this in previous videos. It's about kind of just, maybe getting a walk in or a yoga or something like that, but not overdoing it because you're already on the go all the time. So like I talked about, there's this importance to connect with your body and what works best for you. I love that we have so much information and resources at our fingertips nowadays. It can also be a little bit overwhelming, right? Because there is so much. But that's where I would just encourage you, to test things out, right? Do a little research. Think about the things that work for you, that you naturally gravitate towards, that you want to maybe get a little bit better in, or you connect with. And then carve out time each day to do it. That's all it's about, right? It's that same concept of manifesting what you want. We can have the idea, the fantasy. We need to believe that we can do it, and then take the action steps towards it. And a lot of stuff related to wellness is just habit forming, like carving out time each day to exercise, to, waking up on time, spending a little time in quiet reflection with yourself, cooking yourself a good meal, prepping, like how many people do kitchen prep nowadays so they can have their homemade meal, but maybe it takes less time to cook, or there's all those resources. I don't know of any good ones, so I'm not gonna speak to that, just in terms of quality and content of what they deliver. But the home meal delivery systems is basically what I'm talking about. So, right, like just kind of practically setting yourself up for success, not putting the pressure on to feel, to look a certain way, to be a certain person, to do everything right, accepting the bumps and bruises, being gracious, but continuing to put in the effort and empower yourself, knowing that you are worthy to live the life that you desire. And part of that, or I think the foundation of it, the majority of it, comes from how much we can love ourselves as we are, and then put that time into love and self-care. The other thing I love to do when I'm outside is meditate. I feel like it just amplifies, our connection with our consciousness, our pure consciousness. And when I talk about pure consciousness, I'm talking about the root, the fundamental layer within each cell. In our body, in our physiology, our mind, our soul, I believe that everything is energy, So we do have to be really mindful about where we put our time, our intention. It kind of goes back to that quote I was talking about earlier, that you can only light a light with light. That's why, everyone's going to have their own perspective about what kind of life they want to live, how they want to live it. But if we're not happy, if we're not enjoying the fruits of our labor, the people that are around us, that's when we have to reevaluate and check in, And health and wellness is such a huge thing because it's attached to our physicality, the way we look, the way we represent ourselves, how people view us, etc. We all want to be beautiful, and we all are in our own individual and unique way. And I love when people grab hold of that and honor that, because then that true internal light just shines that much more. It makes them more radiant, more beautiful. We all know those people who might be pretty on the outside, but then you get to know them and it's like, like you can just see it, and then they're not as attractive, right? It might be attraction at first glance, but so much of how people live, how they show up, how they treat people is such a huge part of that. And usually those things are a reflection of how we treat ourselves, right? How we treat others is how we treat ourselves. And that's why it's incredibly important to be mindful. So physical wellness, get out there, find something that works for you, that you love to do, that you get excited about each day. be mindful about how much you're doing right now. You know, don't kind of put this heavy load on yourself right off the bat. It's better to slowly ease into it. It's going to make it sustain a lot longer. You'll be happier with your results. And then maybe even do like a little reward system. You know, you do 2 weeks, you get X, Y, and Z. 4 weeks, a month, 6 months, that type of thing. You know, it kind of just gives some incentive. And that can be anything, you know, that reward. Because, I mean, I think that so much of the reward often comes through just the pride of accomplishment, you know, and honoring ourselves, our mind, our body, our soul. So as you guys know, I brought out a deck. It's this really beautiful, magical, botanical deck. I'm going to shuffle real quick, and then I'll pull a card. I do have to set down the phone, though, real quick. Don't want these babies to fall in the snow. All right, come on. Can you guys see that? All right. I can't, so hold on a second. So this is thorn apple, if you guys didn't see. And this actually is a pretty, very interesting oracle card for what we just talked about. It's such a really, this plant can actually be poisonous. They say this little poem, eat a little and go to sleep. Eat a little more and have a dream. Eat a little more and wake no more. So very intense, right? I'm going to read directly out of the book. This is a really cool oracle. The fellow who wrote it is really into magic, different types of magic, sorry, if that's your vibe. Thorn apple is a powerful witching herb associated with all forms of magic, good and ill. It can be used to gain magical power, as well as cast glamorous illusions and fascinations, bewitching the senses. As a water-ruled planet, it is a wonderful ally in all psychic pursuits. So side note, that's perfect for this time of year. We are still in Pisces season. Saturn just went into Pisces. So working with these types of plants like really help with our psychic powers, but then they also kind of ground those powers as well. We do got to be mindful about those illusions. They always creep up, right? But essentially it's enhancing divination skills, seership, and dream work. There is a strong sexual and magnetic quality to the plant that makes it useful for love and lust spells, as seen by its associations with Venus. As a poison, it is also ruled by Saturn. We just talked about that. And by its thorny seed pods can grant protection. That's cool. So it can also be spiritual, if not physical healer, helping open us up to love and acceptance. So here's the divination meaning. Thorn apple appears when we need to pay attention to our dream and meditative visions. Here the thorn apple spirit takes flight, swirling and twirling with her moth allies, releasing the seeds of her dreams. There is a message from the world above or a message from the world below that we need to receive. Thorn apple calls us to dream and remember our dreams. It can also indicate potential romantic or sexual opportunity in your love life and urges you to feel beautiful, I love that, and draw on what you want. When it's reversed, someone is deceiving us or trying to influence us against our better judgment. It can appear when someone is trying to subtly attack you with magic or when your own delusions are hurting yourself. It calls us to get centered and protect ourselves. The affirmation is, I am beautiful, I am powerful, and I can go wherever I want to go. I love that because it really just speaks to the power that wellness holds. It can be used for good or for ill. We can buy into these fad diets or, wellness gurus, kind of giving our empowerment away and sacrificing ourselves only to the detriment of our own self-care. And not that everyone's intentionally out to get us. We'll know if that message resonates for us. That message has been coming across a lot lately, not only in some of the readings I've been doing, but other channels I've been seeing on YouTube. So if you are getting icky feelings from someone, just keep that in mind. Keep your antennae up, right? Don't disregard yourself. Don't invalidate yourself. That's also the benefit of self-care, is it allows us to be strong and centered in who we are. So that when we come up against the people, places, and things that are trying to challenge us or throw us off course, we know in our core, in our being, that we are amazing, we are beautiful, we are strong, and we can go create and do whatever we want to do. So guys, thank you for this episode of Wednesday Wellness, Purusha Living with me, Deborah, founder of Purusha Holistic Wellness. I hope you're doing well. I hope you receive this beautiful energy of the sun. I hope you get inspired towards your own wellness through this video. I appreciate all your time and energy. Sending love. I only have half part today because my hand is holding the other part. All right, guys, lots of love. Have a good one.